Okay, ready to start a game of Dune. And one thing to note, the setup is maybe not what you're used to. In fact, probably isn't. The reason for that is that I played Spice Harvest beforehand. I'll very briefly explain what changed. You got the Freeman here in Carthage and Siege Tabor, and go to the Spice Harvest, if you're on Board Game Geek, go to the Spice Harvest page to see the playthrough videos for that, to see how this happened. But you've got a huge pile of forces here in Carthage, and some over in Siege Tabor. The Atreides are in Arrakeen and Havana Ridge Siege, and the Imperials start out in Tewkes Siege. No one else is on the board. In terms of money, we can look at the piles. The Freemen have a huge supply of cash. The Atreides have their starting value. They didn't get any additional cash out of this. The Guild has a decent amount of extra cash. I think most of the other players are pretty much at starting levels. They fought out the battles in the Spice Harvest endgame positioning in such a way that they committed a lot of troops even if they didn't get anything out of it. But yeah, the Freemen look incredibly advantaged at this point. At this point, the Bene Gesserit make their prediction, and I'm going to tell you what it is. It's that the Freemen win on turn one. It's one or two. Now, they can be stopped, and everybody else is going to try to stop them, but the Bene Gesserit want to take a shot at helping them to win on the first turn. There are a couple of ways this could happen. One, they are one city away, one location away. They make an alliance, they win, the Bene Gesserit win instead of the alliance. It's unlikely to make an alliance. A worm has to come up for that to happen, so let's look at the situation. Otherwise, they have enough power and enough cash to probably grab something. This game may be over very quickly. That's what the Bene Gesserit are guessing. The last time and the only time I played this opposed with Spice Harvest and Duel, this is more or less what happened, but Duel is what ended the game, actually. Spice Harvest, that huge quantity of money allowed the Freemen to win in the Duel game, of all things. I haven't given the Duel counters out yet. There'll be the 10-point extra leaders to go there. But right now what I have to do is select the traders. And what I'm going to do is find a bag. I have one somewhere. And put all the leaders in there. Everybody will draw 4. And everybody picks one of another player's leader that they drew to be their trader. I'll also mark the safe things for each player so that they know which ones are safe. And the Harkonnen get all the picks. That's their special advantage. Then we'll finish the rest of the setup. Okay, let's look at some of the choices here. First of all, the Freeman got Chani, I don't remember what her name is, as a bonus. They know she's safe. That's a really powerful position there, to have a good leader that you know is safe. Of course, they can be killed, which kind of takes away from that advantage. There are other choices. Well, Staben Tuke would be the next one. He's very good. Well, no, their choices. Staben Tuke is, I think, the best leader that the Guild has. Yeah. So they went with that. Gurney Hallett would be an interesting choice, too, because the Atreides are their main competition. However, they might find it easier to go after the Imperials or something else. It was a hard call. I basically randomized that. Going over to the Atreides, they had a number of bad leaders. First of all, they know Dr. Yui is okay. That's not terribly helpful. A couple of Harkonnen. Harkonnen aren't important on the board at all, and those are weak leaders. Choosing them is tough, but Juana Marcus is a revved up mother. They're all the same values, so the Bene Gesserit, you know, they all have good leaders. It's tough to make that choice. Over for the Guild, they also had a tough choice between Count Fenrig and the revved up mother Jessica, or Jessica the really weird. And they ended up going with the higher valued leader. Again, even though the Atreides are in a more powerful position and it might be important to stop them. And that is really, she's, I believe, their best leader. Well, but they have two equivalent. They also have Thiefer Howard. The Emperor, since we jumped over there, picked Stillborn. Best leader in the game, leading player. That's no choice at all. And the Freemen probably have to figure that they are going to get hit on Stilgar because they don't have him. So they don't trust him one bit. Over here, the Bene Gesserit choices, they went with the Imperial choice. Again, Harchargan and the Emperor are about equivalent. And then the Harkonnen got lucky. They didn't get anybody of their own. Sometimes it's nice to get someone of your own. For anyone else, it's nice to get someone of your own that you know is trustworthy. For the Harkonnen, well, they get something out of everything. They got a revved up mother. They got drunken Omaha. They basically got someone from each power. So they've got, except for the Freeman, right? They've got not particularly great leaders, though, that they drew. They would have rather had some higher valued ones. But yeah, you never know what you're facing when you're facing the Harchargan, because it might be a lousy leader like Yui, who no one else would pick, right? Okay. So that's that. We're going to deal out some treachery cards and also some duel cards that I have to put on the board. Which will help people decide whether or not they want to conduct duels. Yeah. Not by much. They're not terribly helpful for that. Okay, so now the game starts off with both players randomly dialing a number. And that's setting the storm. Not random, they have some choice in it. Instead of taking, with two players doing so, the two players on the sides of the storm, I think. Anyway, the concept behind it was it's supposed to be random. I don't want to put the thought into trying to pick that. It's a complicated thing in a bluffing game. What I'm going to do is I'm going to roll 4 10-sided dice, because I should roll 2 20-siders, but essentially you're dialing between 0 and 20. So I think 4 10-siders will give me a good number. And we'll just do this randomly completely. So that's 26. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 18. And there are a number of reasons why you pick a certain number or another. I just don't want to get into that. It ends up being pretty random anyway, most times that I've played. So that's where the storm's going to start. An interesting thing in this game is, in many games that I play, in almost all, order of play and everything else goes clockwise. In this game, everything goes counterclockwise. The storm moves counterclockwise, the order of play goes counterclockwise. That just happens to be the way that I actually do things quite often. I often have to fix the game, and it kind of confuses me with this, but it's something to keep in mind. I'm not sure what difference it makes in terms of the play of the game. It could go either way. It does have some importance, though, that the storm go counterclockwise because it has to pass over the shield wall and into... by the way, the Imperial Basin is safe from the storm as well as the red and rock areas. But it has to go over the shield wall. That's important because there's cards that'll allow you to destroy the shield wall. Okay. Well, I've handed out treachery cards. You can see this is from the expansion games as opposed to the Space Gamer ones, which look pretty close. These are glaringly different. They tend to be worse cards. I don't think that I'm gonna try to avoid that piece of knowledge, but if I ever play this expansion with people, and there's not a terribly strong reason to put the expansion cards in the game, the ones from Spice Harvest and Duel, well, either those cards get pulled out if I'm playing with the expansions, or everybody is let to understand what those cards are, and it becomes this limited prescience that everyone has, or I guess you could put them in some kind of tiny little sleeves that have a backing. But, you know, at least the edition of Dune I have just totally does not go with these cards, and it was a horrible decision to change them when they put out an expansion. They should not have... they should have tried to match the backing better. Space Gamer did a pretty good job of it. Again, my understanding is that maybe these cards fit well with the second edition of Dune. I don't know. But you shouldn't box yourself in that kind of corner, especially when the expansions had to have been planned when that edition came out. Bad deal by Avalon Hill. So for the rest of the game, the Storm is going to be using these counters. Now this is the advanced game thing. Well, only if the Freeman is in it. It's an optional rule. You pick that counter, the Freeman gets to look at it, and they know how far the Storm is going to go next turn. So the Freeman drew their counter, and they know what it is. It's going to move 5 spaces, which is kind of annoying to them. They ended up lucky here. This is going to be their starting... no, this is the Imperial starting dot, so only one player goes ahead of them. But next turn, 2, 3, 4, 5, they're going to be going last, which is kind of appealing in terms of trying to win the game on a turn that you go last. The problem is you have to pick a place that nobody's invaded yet. So remember, you can't go into an area that has 2 opposing people already. By going early, they could make an attack on something like Tuxeach fairly easily. Problem there? Well, they're not shipping from off-planet, so they have different rules. You can bring your reserves within 2 territories of the Great Flat, and you cannot move on to Dune in any other way. Well, the Great Flat is here. They could land here. They don't have speedy movement, so they have... Oh, they do. They have Carthage. So they could fly from there to Tuxeach. Alternatively, they've got that because they got 3 movement with Carthage. They've got this, but that's not going to get them there. 1, 2, 3. It's not going to get them to Hibana Ridge, but they can go for that. They've got a pile of force, probably enough to take either of them. So they may make their stab on this first turn. If they do not get it, too bad. They still have a lot of money to build up for a long-term solution. They still have Carthage, which is helpful for collecting spice. What they're going to do is they're going to ignore these 2 spice blows, Minor Urg and Red Chasm, and they get to peek at the next turn. There's going to be a worm in the Minor Urg. That's appealing to them. They could actually set up there to ride the worm somewhere for the second turn. More choices. Of course, they don't know that the Bene Gesserit have them predicted to win on this first turn. I'm sorry, I implied that the Freemen get to peek at the deck. They don't. It's the Atreides who get to peek. It doesn't really make a difference because only we got to peek. I get to pretend to the correct player. But yeah, that's a pretty major thing. So now instead it means the Atreides are less likely to go there. They don't want to go to a worm, but the Freemen know nothing about that. So they're going to probably go for a first turn victory. The worm thing wasn't too valuable. But where are we? Well, we're on the bidding round. And a bunch of cards, 6 of these, will be dealt out. And the Atreides get to look at the first one. Now, the first player to bid is the Emperor. Remember, all money goes to the Emperor unless the Emperor buys the card. And he sees a Harvester, which allows improved... I gotta look through my different things. It allows improved amounts. Doubles a spice blow. You play it immediately after the spice comes up. That's not a terribly valuable card to buy. Let's see what the Emperor's money is and what his card is. He's got Imperial Conditioning. Ooh. Imperial Conditioning is also an expansion card. And I gotta find the expansion that's from. Would be useful to make a whole thing. Oh, no, that's a expansion from here. It's played during combat prior to a specific combat and before battle plans are formulated. The card prohibits your leader from being a traitor for that combat. So if you have a risky or even a known traitor, because maybe he was a traitor before and came back from the tanks, this is a way to be able to get a few extra points. That's a cool card. I think the Emperor is going to open up with a pass. We'll see who is interested in it given that... Oh, the Emperor doesn't know what it is. The Atreides know what it is. I keep drawing and peeking and thinking the first player just gets that. No. Okay, so the Emperor's going to obviously open up. I don't know how high. We'll come back and see how the card goes. I don't think cards are going to go for ridiculous amounts because the Freemen kind of want their cash, but they're going to put a limit on how much. They're going to put a baseline on things. Oh, and they have the weather scanner. What does that allow them to do? That's another black one. That sounds like their ability. You can look at the weather movement marker selected by the Freeman. If he gets it, he can discard it as worthless, using it as a worthless card, or reveal it and pay the guild 3 spice to remove the card from the game. He may well do that. But he'll probably do it later, if need be. Anyway. I'll try to figure out where the bidding goes. I did forget about the Bene Gesserit ability. They can show them charity even though they have money. They get a couple of quick bucks to add into this at this point too. Well, the Emperor opened up with a bid of 2. Nobody exceeded that. One of the problems is with Atreides sitting in after you. You might get a card that the Atreides doesn't want cheaper that way. It's kind of an interesting thing because you don't know what the Atreides has, what they won't bid, what they will. You might learn something about their cards by their bidding choices. But the Fremen were smart enough not to bid. The Emperor figures, I can get money at any point. Anyway, the Fremen didn't want to do it. Now, the Emperor is no longer the first player to bid, but it goes over to the Fremen. And they get to bid on this card. The Atreides get to peek at it. It's a Cone of Silence. That's another expansion card. Woo! I think that makes people play Be Quiet when they're involved in a negotiation. Now you could say, shouldn't somebody be declaring Canley at some point here? Maybe. You can prevent a player within its scope from buying cards, threatening Canley, or making an alliance. It can be played at any time against any named player and stays in effect until the end of the turn. You can direct it against as many opponents or allies as... So on this card we have an interesting situation. The Freemen again wait to see what the Atreides are going to do. The Atreides pass. The guild is going to pass. Now we come to 2 players who have an interest in cards nobody wants. The Harkonnen, because they get a free extra card. And remember, some of these cards nobody wants may not be useless. They're these expansion cards. I'm going to pretend that I can't tell what these are, just like I'm going to pretend I can't tell what this card with a nasty crease in is. Hopefully it's not the laser gun, right? The Bene Gesserit are the other one who want to, because worthless cards, there are specific cards that are called worthless cards, they can use as Karama cards, which are powerful ability which allow you to prevent somebody from using their special advantage, and then everybody also has an additional special advantage on Karama cards. The Bene Gesserit special advantage is that they can use worthless cards as though they're Karama cards. So, those people are interested. The Harkonnen do not want the deck to go useless, so they're going to bid 1 on it. I think the Bene Gesserit are going to allow them to have it for 1. Nobody else is terribly interested, so I take change. And remember, the buck goes to the Emperor. Nobody else wants this card. The bonus for the Harkonnen, well, they get another card. They get a free card. And they're not unthrilled at all. They got kind of a cool card. Not terribly useful, but it's not a useless card, right? Now, you can discard useless cards as part of your battle plan. You just put them in as a weapon or defense, and they help you clear your hand, because otherwise you have no way to get rid of these useless cards. The thing is, though, if you have a hand full of cards, you look more dangerous. So maybe people are more worried about you and will expend more effort trying to defend against you or something in ways that really aren't important. All right, now we're moving to the Atreides, who get the first draw on this one, and they get Kal Wahad. Damned if I know what that is. Most of the originals I remember fairly well, but it is a worthless card. Yeah, they're not going to buy that. And now the question is, do the Harkonnen want to bid 1 for it again? And they will. Why not? They're getting a pile. Once again, the Bene Gesserit will hold off. And we got a pair of worthless cards. What a deal. And meanwhile, the Emperor's getting small amounts of cash that aren't helping him. Now we move over to the Guild, and now we have a problem. Because if nobody bids, and it goes to the Atreides and they don't want it, the rest of the treachery cards go back on top of the deck in the order they were drawn. You see, if nobody will take a card, and this is a problem in the basic game, when the worthless cards are truly worthless to everyone, only the Harkonnen might buy them because they're getting a card for a buck. I'll try to decide who does what. A couple of interesting cards went through. So the Atreides bid something up that they really wanted. It was one of these Karama cards. And the Emperor, with his decent money, although he's pretty much reduced it to nothing, which is a problem because he doesn't have a lot of money. Ooh, I forgot to give out the bonus money. So Karthag and Arakeen each got 2, and Tux each get 1. I think that happens during the spice collection phase, though. Okay. Because you're not eligible for Chom Charity if you take that money, essentially. And it comes after all chances to spend money have happened. The Karama card was very useful for Atreides. Its special ability is allowing someone to look at the entire battle plan before you pick yours. For the Emperor, it's to revive up to 3 tokens or a leader for free. Now that's pretty cool, getting a leader for free, especially because you don't get a chance to get one normally. And I think... No, it doesn't say that it gives you any ability. So there's another card, the Telexlu Gola, which allows you to recover a leader from the tanks without payment. Yeah. Nah, I think the Karama card will allow that as well. So basically he has this access to the Golas, so he can bring back to life characters that he loses. That's kind of cool, and that's a good effect for him. But the Atreides were bid him up to like 7 on it, which was a high price because their use of it is tremendous in battle. Then the other one, the Atreides bid on the last card as well, which is the powerful laser gun. They gave that to the Emperor. Why? Well, even though the Atreides have a shot at winning, they weren't willing to pay high for this ultimate weapon. They are willing to let the Emperor kind of be the likely defender against the Freeman. This was probably a bad choice. You want to pick up the laser gun if you can. But giving their money, and they only have 10, away seemed like an extreme thing. And they know the Emperor has the laser gun, and the Emperor knows they know they have the laser gun. So it comes down to this, yeah, you know who has what weapon and what ability. That's one of the coolest things about the Harkonnen. They have things the Atreides don't know about. You can't trade these cards. To some extent, you can kind of use them to help people, but you can't use them in their battle plan or such not. So it's kind of a... There's only one player on the board. Well, every player has one card that the Atreides don't know about at the beginning of the game. But from then on, the Atreides know what you can bring to battle. Now, that's hard for me to handle in a solitaire game. I'm much better at forgetting what I need to know than remembering it. But in an actual opposed game, the Atreides pretty much have an idea of what your battle plan is going to be. I am going to break this first turn up into 2 videos. And... we'll be going to the revival and movement round. This is where the actual play of things go. If this lasts more than 1 turn, which is iffy, then I'll try to do videos somewhat more quickly and pay less attention to what's going on.